You ever had somebody bang on your front door so hard you thought the whole house might come down? Yeah, that was my Tuesday night, a night that started out with me washing dinner plates and ended with half the neighborhood in my front yard cell phones out, hearts pounding, the smell of summer rain mixing with a whole lot of adrenaline. You think you're safe in your own home until two guys show up wearing fake badges and attitude, convinced they can scare you right out of the life you built. But what those idiots didn't know was that 6 Navy SEALs were already on their way to my driveway, and by the time the last engine cooled, it wasn't me who'd be packing up and leaving. Let me back up a sec. My name's Calvin Dunmore, Concord, North Carolina. I'm 44, got a couple of kids, a mortgage I finished paying off years ago, and a kitchen that never seems to stay clean for more than 10 minutes. That night, I was standing there with a sponge in my hand, thinking about nothing but whether to go for another scoop of mashed potatoes when there's this knock 3 heavy wraps, not the kind you get from a neighbor or the UPS guy, but the kind that lets you know deep down somebody wants trouble. I wiped my hands, walked to the door, and found 2 guys standing on my porch, both of them in tactical vests, white block letters screaming HOA Enforcement Division. They looked like they were trying out for a B-movie SWAT team, radios clipped to their belts, not even turned on. I'd noticed later, clipboards in hand, faces like they'd practiced scowling in the mirror all morning. The tall one with the shaved head and a scar over his brow barked, "Mr. Dunmore." I just nodded. "You've been found in violation of neighborhood code. You're required to vacate this property within 48 hours, like it was nothing." I actually laughed, couldn't help it. Vacate? Are you kidding? I own this place, paid it off 7 years ago. If the HOA had a problem, I'd get a letter, maybe a fine. Not you two showing up dressed like you're about to breach my living room. The shorter guy with mirrored sunglasses stepped up. "Doesn't matter. You're out of compliance. Authorized to serve notice. 2 days clear out." And that's when it hit me. Something in my gut. I wasn't dealing with anybody official. Their badges looked like they came out of a cereal box. No signatures on the paperwork. No HOA letterhead. Radios off. Just 2 guys trying to look tough. "Who sent you?" I asked, crossing my arms. "What code am I breaking?" The short one got annoyed, shifted his stance like he'd practiced this at home. "Don't make this harder. Most people just go." I let the silence hang, just watching them, waiting for the cracks to show. Finally, I said, "You two need to leave now." The tall guy grinned. "What you gonna call the cops? Tell them the HOA's kicking you out." Like I'd back down. The anger crawled up inside me, not fear. I peeked past them. No neighbors around, just the distant drone of a lawnmower and a dog barking down the block. The short one lowered his voice. 48 hours, or we'll handle it our way." Then they walked back to their black SUV parked at the curb and sat there watching me waiting, like they owned the place. I paced the living room thinking about what my old man used to say: real authority doesn't need to overcompensate. These guys were trying way too hard. I didn't call the HOA president right then. I didn't want to show panic. I peeked through the blinds. The SUV was still there, the driver on his phone, the passenger tapping at a tablet, both of them watching my every move. So I did what any stubborn fool with something to protect would do. I opened the front door again, stepped onto the porch, and called out loud enough for anyone within 2 blocks to hear, "Hey, who exactly sent you?" Name the board member who signed off. The tall one sauntered back over, jaw twitching. "You're asking too many questions for a guy who's about to be homeless." That did it. I stepped down from the porch, closed the gap between us. "You picked the wrong door," I told him. If the board had a problem, I'd get a letter, not 2 guys in off-brand tactical vests. The passenger handed me a piece of paper, no letterhead, just Code 14B non-compliance, mandatory eviction. Looked like it came off Google Docs. "This is garbage," I told him. "You think I scare easy? Not tonight." A line of headlights rolled around the corner. 3 SUVs, slow, deliberate, the kind of entrance that makes your hair stand up. And that's when the real backup arrived. Jonas, Marcus, Pierce, Damian, Silas, and Vaughn. 6 men, Navy SEALs, old friends of mine, each one carrying enough presence to fill a stadium. They didn't come in yelling or making a scene. They just walked up, calm, controlled the way you do when you've seen worse than a couple of weekend warriors in fake vests. Jonas looked at me. Cal, what's up? I pointed at the imposters. These clowns say they're HOA enforcers, want me out in 48 hours. Pierce cracked a grin. Never heard of that. You got real credentials? The tall guy doubled down. This is official. Doesn't concern you. Jonas didn't budge. You just made it our business. Silas leaned in. Those patches look fresh from eBay. Real field gear doesn't look that new. Damien added, Name the code, show us the statute. The imposters hesitated. You could see the bravado start to melt. Neighbors started to trickle out onto their porches, curiosity outweighing caution. Phones up. I watched as Pierce snatched the clipboard out of the short one's hand. Authority? This is a printout. My niece could make this. Tore it up, tossed it onto the grass. Vaughn grinned. The only crime here is you pretending to be something you're not. They tried to save face. You'll regret this. You're interfering with official duties. Jonas just laughed. Federal. Give me a break. HOA isn't federal and you're not law enforcement. The tension kept building. A pickup truck pulled up. Dean and other SEALs showed up late just in time to see the farce. Who are these, Cal? He asked, surveying the scene with a cold, calculating eye. They claim they're HOA cops, Jonas told him. Dean actually laughed. That's a new one. The imposter's confidence crumbled right there. Jonas leaned in. You've got 2 choices. Get in your car and drive off or stick around for the real police. Their SUV was just a few feet away, but the crowd neighbors' veteran cell phones pointed right at them, formed a wall they couldn't see past. One of the imposters tried to bluster his way through, We'll come back. Dean didn't blink. You come back, and it won't just be neighbors with cameras. It'll be cops, and every second is on video. Just then the distant wail of sirens crested the night. The imposters tried to slink away, but the police boxed them in before they even got to the stop sign. Flashing lights, doors flung open, commands ringing out, hands where we can see them. The real show had just begun. Sergeant Willis, broad-shouldered no-nonsense, took one look at the imposters and their gear, then at the crowd of neighbors. HOA enforcement isn't a thing, he said flatly. And even if it was, you wouldn't show up like this. The officers pulled their vests, their badges, the cheap radios, props, not even police grade. The neighbors' murmured phones still rolling every second recorded for the world. The cops cuffed them, read them their rights, and asked for statements. You realize impersonating law enforcement is a felony, right? The younger officer asked. We weren't impersonating cops. We were with the HOA. The tall one protested, but nobody believed him. The crowd started to applaud. Relief, anger, gratitude, all mixed up together. The next morning, word had spread all over the city. Videos online. News article in the Concord Gazette. I went out to get the paper and drivers slowed down, waved, nodded. I never wanted to be the neighborhood hero, but sometimes you don't get to pick the fight. Sometimes it just knocks on your door. That afternoon, the HOA president, Patricia Landon, called a meeting at the rec center. We don't do intimidation, she said. We don't send people out in tactical vests. If something looks wrong, speak up. People nodded, told their own stories of scam calls and weird letters. Turns out these guys had tried this in other neighborhoods too, just hadn't run into anybody willing to stand their ground with a little help from their friends. By that night, I sat with Jonas by the fire pit. He looked at me, bottle sweating in his hand. You know what sticks with me, he said. It wasn't the gear. It was how sure they were you'd fold. They were counting on fear. And he was right. Fear works when people stand alone. But when you got a community, neighbors, old friends, a couple of SEALs, and a crowd with cell phones, scammers don't stand a chance. So yeah, maybe I didn't sleep much that night, but I did learn something. Authority doesn't come from a badge or a vest or a fancy title. It comes from truth, from community, from people standing shoulder to shoulder and saying, not here, not today. And if you're listening to this and thinking about your own street, your own home, Ask yourself, what would you do if trouble came knocking? Would you fold or would you stand up and call for backup? Drop a comment, share your story. Because the way I see it, standing together is the only way you keep your house, your whole neighborhood safe from the next set of bullies who show up thinking they can take what's yours. Stick around, hit subscribe, and remember the only thing that beats fear is the kind of courage you share.